Hi, it's Joseph Crudup, and welcome to my storybook. Tonight is a part 2 of the series of Barack Obama, our 44th president, and we're going to chapter 3 and 4. Chapter 3. Barry's grandparents, Marilyn and Stanley, had begun their marriage with intimacy, just as his mother and father had done. Marilyn's parents were conventional, respectable citizens in Oscar, Kansas, and Stanley Dunham was an adventurous young man from Illinois, where a salesman Sean and a bad reputation. Marilyn's parents had disapproved of him even more than the Dunham Lord disapproved of the Africa graduate student Barack Obama. So Stanley and Marilyn had gotten married as secretary, and a few weeks before Marilyn graduated from high school in 1940. And the Dunham's only child had been born in Fort Leavenworth, Kansas in 1942 during World War II. Stanley Dunham was in the army at the time, and he was shipped off to France to fight under General Paul. Marilyn worked at the border aircraft plant in Britain. After the end of World War II in 1945, the Dunhams moved around the country: California, Texas, Kansas, to still Washington. Marilyn and Stanley weren't especially aware of the racial discrimination that was coming everywhere in the United States at that time. However, they believed in being polite and considerate to anyone, and they were appalled at the harsh racial situation they found in Texas. When Marilyn spoke positively to the black jeweler at the bank where she worked, and following police scolding her separately for doing so. At the store when Stanley saw funeral, the other salesman explained to him that African Americans and Americans were not allowed in the store during the regular hours. They could buy furniture, but they had to look at the after hours when there were no white customers in the store. With the Dunhams finally settled in Hawaii in 1960, they appreciated the manufacturer way of life in the islands. In Hawaii, whites have always been in the military, and many in the popularity were mixed race. The Dunhams shopping at the neighborhood market run by Japanese American that were inviting over for poor and was picked by negative white followers and police of Stanley. Stanley playing checkers in the park with all foreign men. In 1971, when Barry returned from the endowment to attend school in Hollywood, Stanley and Madeline Dorman were eager to do everything they could for their grandson. Stanley's employee and partner school owners had helped by recommending Barry for admission. The school accepted Barry and gave him a popular scholarship, but his family had to pay the rest of his trip. And, in the process of separating from Lou, had no money to spare. Barry's grandparents didn't have much more. They moved from their large house near the University of Hawaii campus to a 2-bedroom apartment. Stanley Dunham now works as a life insurance salesman, a job he disliked and didn't do well at. Fortunately, Madeline had been promoted to vice president at the Bank of Hawaii, so she could manage to pay the balance of Barry's derivative fees. Stanley and Madeline Dornham were proud that Barry was attending Panama houses, a high-ranked college preparation school founded in 1841. Besides its academic excitement, Panama boasted a beautiful Scouts campus with several acres of bold lawns and shady paths, green hills overlooking the classroom buildings, deedles, tennis courts, and swimming pools. After 4 years in Indiana, Barry felt like an outsider at first. His classmates all knew one another, having attended Pollard since kindergarten. Barry seems to be rarely in the warm clothes, and his classmates play football. The soccer he played in Indiana wouldn't become a popular sport in the United States for years. The other students came mainly from well-to-do families, while Barry and his grandparents lived in a non-scribbling concrete, high-rise apartment building. Most of his classmates lived in a spacious house with backyard swimming pools. At the age of 6, the last time Barry had lived in Honolulu, he felt perfectly comfortable as part of the Hawaii Excellent being melting pot. His grandfather Stanley used to tease and toasters on the bench by telling them with a straight face that Barry was the great-grandson of the Hawaiian King Cosimo Henry. He thought it was a great joke when they similarly took a picture of the boy playing in the sand and pasting it in their photos albums back home. But now 10-year-old Barry was more aware of racial difference in this combination. He began to know that there wasn't many African Americans in Hawaii. In Barry's 5th grade class, there was only one other black child, a girl. A few of the students at Ponabana were as Asian heritage, but most of them were white. During Barry's first tournament, his mother did join him in Hawaii, as she promised. But much more militaries, Barry learned that he was going to meet a man he'd been hearing about for years. His own father, Barack Sr., was coming to Hawaii for a month at Christmas time in 1971 to visit his American son. The Dornhams arranged for him to stay in an apartment in their building. Barry had last seen Barack Obama Sr. when he was 2 years old, too long to remember. He knew he was supposed to be delighted about seeing his father, but instead he felt confused and resentful. He learned that his father had married again for the 3rd time and had 6 other children, 5 boys and a girl, in Kellen. Over the years, Anne had worked hard to build up the bond between Barry and his father. Anne had written many letters to Barack about Barry, and she always praised her ex-husband to Barry. Stanley, too, had talked about Barry's father as a supremely confident, commanding man. Now Anne assured Barry that he and his father would be great friends, and she tried to prepare him for the visit with information about Canada. The country had gained independence from British rule in 1963 under the leadership of John Constantly. He was still the president in 1971. Canada was a mixture of many different ethnic groups. While John on Canada was from the castle electorate, Barack Senior was from the little troop. The Louis had come to the Carolines several hundred years earlier from the Nile River region. Barry didn't pay close attention, but he got the impression that his father, Trudy, has originally come from ancient Egypt. That sounded excitement, and at first he was eager to learn more about the Lure. But then Barry reading a library book that the Lure was actually hunters who lived in mud hunts. This was nothing like the promise, but the promise and carrots he hoped for. Ashan, Ashan, he didn't, Ashan. Now, he didn't want to know more anymore. When Barack Senior finally arrived in Honolulu, Barry still felt confused. His father was still and very thin. He talked when it came, but he was recovering from a car accident as the visit went on. Barry still felt uncomfortable around his father and found it hard to talk to him. There were strangers. Barry did know how his mother and grandparents responded to Barack. Something magical about him seeming to live up the air when he was in the room. At first, the four adults enjoyed one another's company, and everyone got along. But after a few weeks, teasings built up. One evening, Barry started to watch a Hindran Christmas special on TV. How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Barack Senior ordered him to turn the TV off and study instead. Barry's father is sure he had the authority to get such a commands, but his mother and grandmother protested. The adults began to argue bitterly, no longer trying to be polite. When Barry listened from the other room, Barack accused Barry's grandparents of spoiling him. Stanley was in danger that Barack would try to take charge in his house. Merely that his ex-son-in-law had sent Noah to come there and get orders, but he left Anne and their little son to feed for themselves 8 years ago. She didn't know that she worked full-time at the bank, and she was tired of waiting on Barack. Anne, who wanted everyone to love and understand one another, reporting to Barack for being too tough with Barry, and his parents for never changed. After this scene, Barry just wanted his father to leave so that he and his mother and grandparents could return to their peaceful life. But then Barry's teacher invited Barack Senior to come to Parliament and talk to the fifth graders by Kalen. At first, Barry disdained the visit. Besides the fact that he felt uncomfortable around his father, he was afraid Barack Senior wouldn't measure to the Herald reputation Barry had created for him. Barry had made this mistake of bragging to his classmates that his father was an African prince, and now the truth about the mud huts will come out. However, on the day that Barack Senior spoke to the students at Parnell, Barry was proud. His classmates were impressed with his tall father, looking delightful in his blue blazer. Barack spoke to them in his deep, vibrant voice of Carolyn legends and how Carolyn gained its independence from British rule. The lesson made it so that by the end of the presentation, Barry was smiling. At Christmas, Barry gave his father a tie, and his father gave him a basketball. And then before he left, Barack Sr. gave his son one last present, a recording of the African music. Even Bill, Barack played the record for Barry and showed him how to dance like a lord. When Anne returned to Hawaii to live, she brought Barry's half-sister, Marilyn, with her. She had left Lulu's sculpture, although she would remain on friendly terms with him, as she had with Barry's father. She applied for strict grants so that she can go back to school at the University of Hawaii in support of her children, and planned to become a photographist, anthropologist, a social scientist who studies different cultures. She already knew she wanted to work in Dallas, was contained in a fascinating array of courts of creatures. So 300 separate languages were spoken throughout the country. The summer after his father visited Barry, Madeline Dawn took him, his mother, and Madeline on a tour of the United States. Barry, almost 11, had never seen a Madeline before. They traveled from Seattle, Washington, to California, where they went to Disneyland in Arizona. They viewed the Grand Canyon. Then they rode the Greyhound bus east across the Midwest, where Madeline had grown up and Anne had been born. They traveled north to Chicago on Lake Michigan, where they spent 3 days. On the way back to the West Coast for the flight home, they stopped in Yellowstone Park. Back in Honolulu, Barry lived with his mother and Melanie in an apartment near the Parker School campus. Anne was close and loving with her children, but she had settled down to do that part. Since Anne was a single parent, she needed Barry to help out by grocery shopping and looking after his little sister. Marilyn adored her brother, but as she got older, she liked to tease him. As long a teenager now, Barry was proud of his carefully arranged afro hairstyle. One way to get a rise out of him. Marilyn discovered it, was trying to mess up his hair. In spite of all the styling and curls, there was time for Anne, Barry, and Marilyn to have fun together. On weekends, the family might hike and picnic, and at watery hills above Honolulu, where waterfalls cascading down mostly cliffs, and red yellow flowers dotted the undergrowth. Anne had to be veritable for the wonders of nature, and she was eager to share her art with Barry and Marilyn. She might go so far as to wake them up in the middle of the night to take an especially beautiful moon. In 1977, Anne was ready to return to the International for her field work in photography. She intended to take Marilyn and Barry with her. She was still concerned about her children's education, but she planned to send them to a good school in Jakarta, in an international school. Since Anne loved the people and culture international, she looked forward to the move, and Marilyn didn't yet, but Barry wanted to stay in Hawaii. He was now in high school at Honolulu, and he didn't want to leave his friends. Stanley and Madeline encouraged Barry to stay, offering to let him have one of their 2 small bedrooms also, although they didn't exactly say so, to let Barry understand that didn't surprise him as strictly as his mother did. Anne hated the thought of painting with Barry, but she understood how he felt. He had made a big adjustment internationally at the age of 6, and then another big adjustment to Hawaii at the age of 10. Naturally, he didn't want to go back to industrial and readjust all over again. So Anne and Madeline left, and Barry moved in with his grandparents. He will live there until his graduation from high school 2 years later. Chapter 4. High School. During his high school years at Panama, Barry's classmates thought of him as a warm, friendly, low-key kind of the guy with a great smile, bigger than most of his classmates. Barry played football during his freshman year, but he loved basketball more, and that was his main sport throughout the high school. He played second string on the varsity team. Barry's mother perhaps remembering how similar she been as a teenager. Wonderful if Barry would ever care about everything except basketball. But Barry was like his mother in at least one way. His sense of fairness as an elementary school in Downsville was genuinely kind. His classmates knew that he would refuse to go along with the crowd and teasing another student. Standing apart, Barry would give the total look of disapproval. In basketball, Barry was a solid, steady player, although not a star. His sense of fairness came out in sports too. If the coach was keeping the second starting players on the bench too long, Barry would be the one to speak up for them. Barry's grades was decent, but not outstanding. His classmates and teachers knew that he could have been a top student with a little more effort. The good life in Hawaii may have had something to do with Barry's lack of seriousness. Hawaii, more than 2,000 miles from the mainland United States, seemed peacefully removed from the rest of the world. The weather was always princely, the cellular beautiful. For Barry and his friends, life was an endless round of body softening at sandy beach, going to parties and playing basketball besides the varsity games and practice. They played pickup basketball with a little man who showed up at the gym after school. Barry also spent hours practicing basketball shots by himself on a playground near his grandparents' apartment. There were a few small signs that Barry was an unusual boy. He read law books and he listened to jazz artists such as Miles Davis and Charlie Parker, as well as the pop music that his classmates liked. Once, he surprised the older students in the English class with a poem he wrote. It was about it all, forgotten men on and on. Forgotten old world, who walks a straight line along with the crooked world. In fact, although Barry didn't talk to his friends about it, he was on an identified quest as he grew up. He also grew more aware of himself as an American with African ancestors, a source of a group to identify with. Who was he? For one thing, Barry was the son of a black African father. His mother had always impressed what a remarkable, unhonorable man her first husband was, and encouraging Barry to be like him. Barry did think of his father as a kind hero, but he had seen his father only once to remember, when he was 10. His father wrote him letters, and Barry wrote back. but they wasn't close the way Barry and his mother were. Barry haven't even met any of his African red letters, and essentially didn't feel African. However, although Barry was close to his white American mother and white African grandparents, he essentially didn't feel white either. Was he African American? Then, but he had no African American family or community. Barry is searching books to find out who he was and where he belonged. He read all the well-known records on the struggles of black people in America. W.E.B. Thoreau's Easing in the Soul of Black Folk. Livington Hoosier Poems. The Nevertheless of White Race. Negative Son. And Rough Rowdy Answer. Invisible Man. Martin Luther King's speeches. James Baldwin's Easing in the Foul Next Time. And Malcolm X. The photography of Malcolm X. The African American veteran who appeared to Barry most of all at that time in his life, when Malcolm X, with his dignity, his confidence, and his strong call for justice. Barry was also deeply impressed at how Malcolm had been able to turn his life around. Still, it bothered him that Malcolm completely rejected his white background on his mother's side. It was one thing for Malcolm, who had never known his white grandfather, to disavow his white family. It will be quite another for Barry to reject his close and loving mother and grandparents who had cared for him all his life. Barry knew that because he lived in Hawaii, he wasn't experiencing the same combination that most African Americans feel. Of all the 50 states, Hawaii was the most tolerant of racial differences. Barry's own father has said so. Barry discovered find clipping and all the Hollywood star Dalton had published it in 1963 when his father graduated from the University of Hawaii. At the time, Barack Sr. had noted that other nations could learn something from the way the different races in Hawaii were willing to cooperate. Stated on him like to tell a story from the days when Barack Sr. was still attending the University of Hawaii. One evening, Barry's father and Stanley had gone with a group of friends to a bar in Rezica. When they were having drinks, a white customer in the bar started to complain loudly about Barack Sr.'s presence, using racial slurs. Barry's father, instead of starting a fight, went walking over to a white man with a calm smile. With great dignity and authority, he assembled to the other man. Then racial discrimination was wrong, foolish, and against an American principle of respecting the rights of everyone. The white man was so ashamed. Stanley said that he not only started complaining, but also pulled $100 out of his pocket and printed the money on Barack. Barack's confidence would have been a lot more reassured, Barry thought, if his father were here. Meanwhile, Barry couldn't have not noticed some evenings of racial even in Hawaii. His tennis coach, for instance, he made a snarling remark about Barry's car. As far as the coach was concerned, Barry didn't have any mixed feelings. He thought the guy was a joke, and he quit the tennis team. But he was more confused when it came to friends and family. One night when Barry took two white friends to an all-black party, they felt uncomfortable, and before long they asked him to drive them home. In the car, one of the friends tried to tell Barry that he now understood a little bit of what Barry must feel all the time, being surrounded by white people. Instead of appreciating his friend's sympathy, Barry became angry. He killed the white boy posingly, understanding how he felt. Whites were in charge in the society. If they were felt uncomfortable, they could just leave the party. Whereas if Barry felt uncomfortable, he could do nothing about it. Then there was the time Barry's grandmother was harassed at the bus stop by Hardener. Barry's grandfather told him privately, what shame that his grandfather had been frightening because the man was black. Barry was shaken to think that his own tour was afraid of someone just on the barrels of his being African American. Later, however, an older black man named Frank suggested different views to Barry. In Frank's opinion, Barry's grandmother wasn't really one to react that way, considering the long history of racial bigotry in the United States. African Americans have reason to harbor a deep anger against whites, and such anger sometimes leads to violence against whites. Grandpa's attitude bothered Barry too. Stanley thought of himself as completely free of racial prejudice. It was true that Stanley was on good terms with all of his neighbors, and adjusting and justice. Whether they were from Peru, Japanese, friendly of the citizens, or black, he spent hours with black friends playing poker and bridge or just chatting. But Barry was sure that his grandfather didn't really understand those other men, and that he wasn't as close to them as he is shown. Bothered about all these things, Barry was confused about what conclusions to draw. He believed that his white friends sincerely liked him, and he knew that his white grandparents loved him dearly. But none of them would ever understand what it was like to be black, in spite of his inner tumor. Barry was well liked. At Pawn House, and most of his friends were in white. They never suspected that Barry had any problems. In the afternoons after school, they were often hang out at his grandparents. Apparently, it wasn't too far from the school, and Stanley and Dorian welcomed the boys' company. They liked Stanley too. One reason Barry liked basketball so much was that some of the best performance basketball players were black. Jewish Dr. J. Owen, the star player for the Philadelphia 76ers at the time, was an athlete of size, grace, and style, and manipulated more and mobile. Barry also loved the way he and the other boys could get completely caught up in playing a game. Then it didn't seem to matter what color one's skin was or how much money his family had. On the basketball court, at least Barry felt like he belonged. He was especially good at long jump shots, and his teammates called him Barry Obama. While Barry didn't regret staying in Hawaii, he often felt lonely. His mother wrote him loving letters for endorsing her, and he knew she was thinking about him and making plans for his future. But he longed for a mother and father at home. He didn't share these feelings with his classmates, but he talked more friendly with an older boy, Keith Carl Larson, also in the mixed race. Meanwhile, Dorothy held letters and urged her son to keep his grade point average up and think about college. Although Barry generally made B's in his last year or so, he let his studies slide. His grandparents worried that he might even do something that would land him in jail, but they didn't confront him about his behavior. After the beginning of the Barry's senior year in high school, his mother returned to Hawaii for a while. He was alarmed by Barry's sinking grades and by the serious trouble that some of his friends had gotten into. She gave Barry a talking to. It was time for him to give up his lazy frame of mind and break away from the easy life in Hawaii in order to do something worthwhile with his life. And he wanted to go to a good college on the mainland after graduation. Barry had been thinking that he'd rather take classes in Honolulu, work part-time, and coast alone. He argued back, but in the end, his mother made him feel guilty, pulling himself together. Barry applied to several colleges on the mainland. He won a full scholarship to Arkansas College, a small liberty arts school in Los Angeles, and he decided to go there. In the spring of 1979, Barry graduated from high school. His mother and Marilyn flew to Hawaii for international for the ceremony. In his personal section of the Portrait Yearbook, Barry thanked his great-grandmother and grandfather. Barry was a noble, self-ambassador teenager in some ways, but he come to realize how much he owed to and Gramps. The Dorhams had lived in a modest apartment in order to pay the difference between Barry's scholarship and his turbulent fees. They shared their home with him, putting up with his insocialized scholarliness and darkness. They worried about him day in and day out, as much as if they were in his parents. And Fuller taking on grand graduation day shows Stanley and Marilyn hugging and Barry and being with pride. That's all for this was the chapter 3 and chapter 4. Tomorrow on the part 3 we'll go to chapter 5 and chapter 6. Until then, I'm Joseph Crudup. Had a nice day. Had a good night.